4:47 a.m. A shaped charge blows, dust clears, and a steel corridor opens under the palace. Inside, reinforced walls, precision scales, chemical storage, racks of brick-wrapped product, and a side chamber of handwritten ledgers. The air is cold, by design. This video walks you step by step through how an intel picture became a door kick. CIA satellites feeding live signals, DEA following authorization trails through military-controlled ports, FBI and elite operators synchronizing multi-site strikes, until the bunker's records tied shipments to official processes. Before we move on, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel and like the video. A ministry stamp lands on a manifest and no one blinks. The crate rolls through a military gate, bypasses secondary inspection, and clears the pier at dusk. That same digital signature signs off on 6 more loads in 30 days. Different bill numbers, identical hash on the approval chain. The software treats it as routine traffic. The problem is, the cargo is anything but routine. Analysts kept seeing the same pattern in ports run by uniformed commands. High-purity cocaine kept moving with almost no interdictions, even as sanctions tightened and foreign scrutiny grew. Shipments flowed, inspections dropped, and seizures at sea traced back to containers that had left with clean paperwork. The purity levels told the story of an export machine. The consistency told the story of process. Public briefings said the state fought traffickers. Inside the terminals, pallets moved through expedite corridors built for time-sensitive cargo. VIP lanes, escort vehicles, and pre-clears shaved hours into minutes. The language matched anti-drug campaigns. The logistics matched priority freight. When messaging and movement diverge, you follow the movement. Here's how the mechanism worked when done right. Controlled access terminals restricted who could approach high-value bays. Pre-cleared customs lanes let tagged containers glide past normal checks. Encrypted approval chains used the same software and steps as official procurement, from request to receipt. Each click left a record inside systems designed to defend against fraud. The irony is, those defenses gave cover. When a signature sat in the right field, doors opened. The trail stretched from paper to digital and back again. Authentic-looking PKI certificates validated user identities. Time-stamped emails mirrored cargo life cycles down to the minute. Port gate logs matched vessel AIS pings as trucks rolled to the quay. Even the crane assignments aligned with berth schedules. On the surface, everything balanced. That balance is what made it credible. Take a single case. A container triggered a chemical risk profile for solvents common in processing. It left Puerto Cabello with pristine export forms, entered the colon-free zone, swapped into a different box, then moved to a European transshipment hub with an equally clean trail. The paperwork matched every custody handoff. Every timestamp hit within expected windows. Nothing looked rushed. Nothing looked altered. Perfect is suspicious, but you need more than a hunch to stop a box mid-route. Research on narco-states explains why the paperwork looks so good. Bureaucratic cover reduces variance. Standard steps reduce risk. When you fold illicit cargo into formal workflows, you scale throughput without drawing a spotlight. The stamps and signatures create a sense of compliance that rides along international supply chains. You don't hide the signal, you normalize it. Ports gave the first signals, but they weren't the only stage. The real proof would surface far from a quay, where schedules and seals give way to ledgers, batch lists, and air handling units that never cycle off. That hint redirected attention from cranes and manifests to a node that could command the whole pipeline. You find the brain, not just the hands. When analysts stacked months of approvals, the pattern held. The same offices and user IDs kept appearing on high-risk cargo. The sequence of steps never slipped a minute out of phase. The email headers routed through the same exchange servers. The PKI certs resolved to trusted authorities. That repetition is what beats randomness. It showed a system, not a fluke. So the problem wasn't a few corrupt clerks slipping containers past sleepy guards. It was a structure. military-controlled ports, protected lanes, and a digital spine that made bad cargo look law-abiding. Interdiction numbers stayed low because the checks hit every box on the compliance list. The list itself had been repurposed. With that picture in place, the next step wasn't debating intent. It was converting a data pattern into targets you can touch. Offices on manifests translate to buildings on a map. User IDs point to terminals and shift rosters. Gate logs resolve into drivers, routes, and storage yards. The question shifts from who signed to where those signatures moved product across borders and where the circuit could be cut. A heat map of authorizations lit up like runway lights. One cluster pulsed near midnight, then a satellite pass aligned with a convoy rolling from a restricted pier. Engines idled under blackout curtains while a tug nudged a vessel off berth. The timing wasn't luck. It matched a week of approvals from the same offices, the same user IDs, and the same cleared lanes. You could see the pulse of the network move from a digital signature to a real truck leaving a gate. From there, overhead assets narrowed the windows. The CIA pulled down passes that tagged comms bursts, short and clean, tied to encrypted phones that woke only when a port badge scanned. Direction finding locked the phones to a set of offices and a warehouse grid. Signal density rose when manifests cleared. It fell when ships crossed the harbor mouth. DEA analysts rode that wave, lining approvals against bank pings that hit small hours, then disappeared into shell invoices logged as security retainer fees. The timestamps aligned. The vendors matched known laundering fronts. Each pattern fed the next. The map wasn't a single target. It was a city of nodes. A customs office with a thin window of activity. A port yard with a quiet corner where cameras pointed just off-center. 2 industrial parks with abnormal night shifts and no outbound sales. Hit one node and the alerts ripple. Wait, and the phones go dark, trucks reroute, and the ledger updates with a new vendor ID. The team needed to close a fist, not tap a finger. Interagency roles divided the load. CIA fused collection, tied the overhead passes to device habits, and kept the pattern of life threads from snapping. DEA built chemical signatures from prior seizures, matched solvent purchases to import logs, and tracked accounts that moved money in precise, repeating blocks. The FBI planned the breaches, set digital forensics kits to vacuum servers the moment doors opened, and timed HRT entries to avoid destroying what the case needed. SOCOM covered the flanks with simultaneous entries, cut external comms at key hubs, and held rooftops and approaches so evidence crews could work. Synchronizing all of that meant solving time, comms, and leaks. Operators staged across time zones so the night in Caracas met fresh eyes in analysis cells. Secure channels went live only in narrow windows, and each team carried a need-to-know slice. Names and full addresses lived in separate compartments. Call signs replaced units. Even rehearsals used dead facilities with the same door geometry and corridor layouts. But false labels on every door to keep the real targets sealed until H hour. One example flagged how tight the pipeline became. Ledger weights for a week's shipments were backcast into maritime container risk models. The math pointed at a specific reefer line that ran warm on Mondays. That cue triggered a warehouse tap at a nearby distribution yard, and, within the same hour, a banking alert on a contractor paid for HVAC maintenance at a government compound. The warehouse microphone picked pallet skids at 2:11 a.m. The bank ping hit at 2:17, both lined with a port approval at 2:03. Research on multi-domain ISR and network science backed the prioritization. Pattern of life analysis revealed which devices slept and which never slept, which cameras blinked at the same minute, and which doors opened within seconds of each other across town. That triage set 47 primary targets without tipping any single node. No one site received the full glare. The pressure spread evenly, so the network didn't feel the heat until the last moment. As the picture sharpened, one anomaly drew fire. A government compound with a power draw that spiked on off days and stayed flat through holidays. Subsurface radar hinted at reinforced rooms. Cooling units ran constant, not cycling like normal office load. Service records listed generator testing and archival climate control as explanations. The behavior didn't match the billing. Operators converged. Entry plans stacked on a single choke point. Exterior teams cut power and fiber. Breach kits staged 2 levels down. On the board, green boxes turned solid as surveillance, cut lines and assault elements checked ready. The hour hit. 6 sites across Caracas, the port, and 2 industrial hubs went live at once. Doors blew in sequence, servers bagged, laptops cloned in place, floors marked, evidence logged with time and GPS. What waited under the Capitol would turn a patterned suspicion into a design. The door at the compound wasn't guarding offices. It covered a cold room where the data met the product, and the signatures lined with the weight on the scales. Cold air hits first, then the numbers. Handwritten columns listing dates, weights, destinations, and payment splits. A plastic cover shields the ledger. The ink is fresh on the last row. Operators call out line items while cameras roll. Each page ties a date to a route and a split by percentage, not names. The math is neat. The sums balance. The room sits behind a vault-grade door with multi-bolt locking. Inside, climate units hum at a steady pitch. Reinforced walls block outside noise. Hydraulic presses stand in a row, plates still warm. Vacuum sealers sit with spare gaskets laid out by size. Precision scales read to the 1/10 of a gram. Chemical storage cabinets hold solvents, pH buffers, desiccants, and tamper seals organized by lot. Stainless benches carry molds, die sets, and toolkits. A narrow corridor leads to a secondary chamber with a redundant air handler and backup power bus. Every corner shows purpose. No one knows at first if this is only a stash. Operators record serials on the presses and log die face patterns. Lot markers on packaging film get photographed. Machine settings, pressure, dwell time, temperature are written down off the local control panels. Chemists prep field tests at a clean table, swabbing random bricks and taking scrape samples from press plates and hoppers. Labels go on vials with time, location, and operator code. The first colors turn fast.